Here is every Big Six club's ideal first-team squad for next season. Arsenal are going into the summer in their best position in seasons, as they will most likely have UCL football, and have a young, exciting squad that could use some new faces. So going into next season, they severely need to add to their depth, and need to get some Champions League experienced and quality players. They also should let some of their dead wood walk as well. If you look at Arsenal's end-of-contract players, there are a total of 3, and that is Lacazette, Elneny, and Nketiah. For me, Lacazette should be re-signed, as he has shown lately to be a solid number 9 for Arteta's system, and with his age and experience, would be a good forward especially for Europe competition for some years. However, Elneny and Nketiah should walk away. Next, for sales, Arsenal should get rid of some dead wood. However, for the most part, they lack depth, so most sales would need to be replaced. So Leno, Xhaka, and Pepe should be sold to help fund summer signings. I think Leno should be sold for 15 million, Xhaka for 15 million, and Pepe for 25 million, for a total of 55 million pounds of player sales revenue. For signings, Arsenal will need loads of players as they will need a young striker, a versatile winger that can play on either wing, a backup keeper, a dynamic midfielder to play next to Partey, and a backup defensive midfielder for Partey. The first signing they should make is Amine Gouiri, the 22-year-old French centre forward playing with Nice, who should cost around 40 million pounds. He, like Lacazette, is excellent at dropping deep and playing as a deep-lying forward, and is a great finisher as well. It would be a young, developmental option up front. The second signing they should make is Cody Gakpo, the 22-year-old Dutch winger playing for PSV, who should cost around 25 million pounds. He is a young and dynamic winger, destroying the Eredivisie this season, and seems ready for his big move, and he could play on either wing, giving Arsenal a great bench option. The third signing they should make is Renato Sanches, the 24-year-old Portuguese midfielder playing for Lyon, who should cost around 30 million pounds. He is exactly the midfielder they need, as he would be excellent next to Partey, as he is a hard worker, who will look to find space to be a passing option, and when he receives it, is very dangerous, able to push forward with his dribbling and make excellent passes throughout the match. The fourth signing they should make is to bring in Fraser Forster, the 34-year-old keeper playing for Southampton on a free contract. He would be a solid backup keeper for Arsenal after selling Leno and would be free, a solid signing Arsenal could make. The fifth signing they should make is Boubacar Kamara, the 22-year-old defensive midfielder from Marseille on a free as his contract runs out this summer. He would be a solid fit to back up Partey as he is crucial to how this side functions. Meaning that these 5 signings would cost Arsenal 95 million pounds, giving them a net spend of negative 40 million pounds. The first team squad will then go as follows: Ramsdale and Forster as keepers, Tierney and Tavares as left backs, Tomiyasu and Cedric as right backs, White, Gabriel, Saliba and Holding as centre backs, Partey and Kamara as defensive midfielders, Sanchez and Lokonga as central midfielders, Smith Rowe and Odegaard as attacking midfielders, Saka as the right winger, Martinelli and Gakpo as left wingers, and Lacazette and Gouiri up front. This would be a great first team for Arsenal to have next season. Chelsea are in a weird position. Right now they may not even be able to make summer signings, so I could sit here and say they add no one. However, for this video, I'm assuming that Chelsea has been sold to new owners who want to spend relatively similar amounts to the prior regime. So going into this summer, the club needs to replenish their lost players due to their expired contracts, and must build back up under Tuchel to remain at the top of the game. For players out of contract this summer, I am assuming they will lose all of them due to this new ownership and inability to hold talks now. Therefore, they will be losing Azpilicueta, Rudiger, and Christensen all for free, setting up for a massive defensive haul this summer. So this summer, they will also need to sell some players who are struggling or look ready for a move away from the club. So this involves selling Romelu Lukaku for 60 million, Timo Werner for 45 million, Ross Barkley for 10 million, and Ruben Loftus-Cheek for 15 million. This would bring in a total of 130 million pounds of player sales revenue. For purchases, they would need to bring in a backup center forward to Kai Havertz and someone who can play on both wings, 2 new center back options, and a backup right wing back. The first signing would be Jules Koundé, the 23-year-old center back playing for Sevilla, for a 60 million pound sum. He would be the perfect right-sided center back for this club, as he is excellent on the ball and quite quick, able to cover for Reece James flying down the right wing as well. The second signing would be Max Kilman, the 24-year-old center back playing for Wolves, for a total sum of 20 million pounds. Kilman is another player who is excellent on the ball and able to pick out players with his amazing passing range and is a solid defender, who would fit in seamlessly on the left side of Tuchel's back three. The third signing would be Ridle Baku, the 23-year-old right midfielder from Wolfsburg, for a sum of £25 million. He is a player that excels in the wide spaces and is able to run up and down the pitch for the team if needed. For me, he is a perfect backup for James that would make Tuchel feel comfortable if James was to go down with injury, and would allow him to rotate whenever needed. The fourth and final signing is to bring in Paulo Dybala, the 28-year-old center forward playing for Juventus, for free, with his contract expiring this summer. Dybala has made it known that he is ready to leave Juventus, therefore Tuchel and Chelsea should bring him in, as he would be a perfect rotational piece with Havertz in that false 9 role. It could also move wide if needed for Tuchel. These 4 signings for a total of £105 million would give Chelsea a positive net spend of £30 million. Therefore, the final first-team squad would go as follows: Mendy and Arrizabalaga as keepers, Silva, Sarr, Chalobah, Kilman, and Koundé as centre-backs, Chilwell and Alonso as left wing-backs, James and Baku as right wing-backs, Jorginho, Kovacic, Kanté, and Gallagher as central midfielders, Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi as left wingers, Mount and Ziyech as right wingers, and Havertz and Dybala up front. This, I believe, would be a great transfer window for Chelsea, considering all of the defenders leaving on a free this summer. Liverpool are going into this summer where they need to get more youthful as their squad is starting to age, and in some key positions they miss some quality youth production. Before we start with Liverpool, I want to say that their first move should be to extend Salah's contract, as he is crucial to how this side works. If you look at their expiring contracts this season, they have 4. I agree with Klopp that Milner should be re-signed for a 1 or 2 year extension, as his impact on the side is so very important. Also, Adrian should be extended as he is a solid third keeper for Liverpool. Origi also should be extended, but for this video, I'm going to assume he chooses to go to AC Milan this summer, and Loris Karius should be let go. For players to let go, I think multiple should be sold this summer, as Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain should be sold for £15 million, Bobby Firmino for £30 million, Sadio Mane for £50 million, Nat Phillips for £10 million, and Joe Gomez for £30 million. I want to say that I don't think that Joe Gomez should be sold, however, I believe he will force a move away from the club this summer. Therefore, Liverpool will have to find a replacement. This means that Liverpool will have a player sales revenue this summer of £135 million. This, alongside their high placement in many top competitions, will allow the club to splurge this summer. Liverpool will go into this summer needing to bring in young talent, as they will need a central midfielder, a backup centre back, and 2 forward players. The first signing is the most obvious, but going to be the most expensive, as it is Jude Bellingham, the 18-year-old central midfielder playing for Dortmund, who I believe will cost a massive sum of £90 million to bring to Liverpool, breaking the transfer record. But I believe his talent and potential make him worth every pound. He would be a player to control Liverpool's midfield for over a decade. It could be their next Steven Gerrard. The second signing is Fablo Carvalho, the 19-year-old winger from Fulham, and they should pay Fulham around £8 million to bring him in. He's an incredible young talent that, if brought in, should be a part of the squad, as he could be a crucial player for Liverpool's cup matches and could be a crucial part of the squad. The third signing is Christopher Nkunku, the 24-year-old center forward playing for Lille, for a total of £50 million. He is a player that could be Klopp's next Bobby Firmino, as he is great at dropping deep to be a passing option and is extremely hard-working, who is also a much better finisher than Bobby at this point in his career. He would be a sensational signing. The fourth signing is Lloyd Kelly, the 23-year-old centre-back playing for Bournemouth, for a total of £10 million if Bournemouth are not to be promoted. Liverpool, if they lose Gomez, needs a left-footed centre-back, and he is that. He is also quite versatile, as he could also play left-back if needed. I think he would be willing to be a fourth-choice centre-back who could definitely become a top-quality Premier League centre-back, as he has all of the traits that are needed. These 4 signings for a total of £168 million would give Liverpool a total net spend of negative £33 million, and would probably satisfy FSG and allow them to pay Salah what he wants. The final ideal first-team squad would go as follows: Alisson and Kelleher as keepers, Alexander-Arnold and Nico Williams as right-backs, Robertson and Tsimikas as left-backs, Van Dijk, Matip, Konate, and Kelly as center-backs, Fabinho and Henderson as defensive midfielders, Thiago, Bellingham, Jones, Keita, Milner, and Elliott as central midfielders, Diaz and Carvalho as left wingers, Salah and Minamino as right wingers, and Nkunku and Jota as center forwards. I believe this would improve Liverpool's future and put them in the right direction for the future. Manchester City, as many know, already have a world-class squad filled with world-class players, and have already confirmed the signing of Julian Alvarez already, the young and exciting number 9. So what could they possibly even need? Well, firstly, we should look at their expiring contracts, and the only two that they have are Scott Carson and Fernandinho. They should let Fernandinho walk, but if Scott Carson is willing to keep playing, I would keep extending him, as his presence is needed in the dressing room. We have to look at their possible departures, and who should they get rid of. I think the only player on their first team I see being sold this summer will be Gabriel Jesus, as he has never been able to get quality first-team football, so I see him being sold for around £40 million. For players they should bring in, I think they should sign 3 players. One striker to be their main striking option to let Alvarez get development, a defensive midfielder backup to replace Fernandinho, and another fullback depth option. The first signing they should make is of course Erling Haaland, the 21-year-old Norwegian center forward playing for Borussia Dortmund, utilizing his around £60 million release clause. He is a world-class striker who has Ballon d'Or potential, a player that will flourish under Pep, and could see him scoring over 30 goals next season. The second signing they should make is Joo Scally, the 19-year-old American fullback playing for Mönchengladbach, for a total sum of £15 million. Pep, if he is to make a fullback signing, would preferably want a player for the future, to eventually replace Kyle Walker, and Scally is that player. He is an all-around solid fullback who is showing excellent talent at his young age in his first season in Europe, and if brought to City, could become a superstar. The third signing they should make is Edson Alvarez, the 24-year-old Mexican defensive midfielder for Ajax, for a total sum of £25 million. I think he would be a player that would fit right in under Pep, as he could be a very solid all-around defensive midfielder. These 3 signings for a total of £100 million would give City a net spend of negative £60 million. Therefore, the final first-team squad would go as follows: Ederson and Stefan as keepers, Cancelo and Zinchenko as left-backs, Walker and Scally as right-backs, Diaz, Laporte, Ake, and Stones as center-backs, Rodri and Alvarez as defensive midfielders, Gundogan, De Bruyne, Silva, and Foden as midfielders, Mahrez and Palmer as right-wingers, Grealish and Sterling as left-wingers, and Haaland and Alvarez as strikers. I think this will give City enough ammunition to possibly win their first UCL title in their history. Manchester United seems geared for a rebuild, as a manager is definitely going to be brought in, as it seems likely that Erik ten Hag will be the new manager. So I assume in this video that Ten Hag is the new manager, so they will need players that will fit his system. Let's first look at United's expiring contracts this summer and see who they should keep. However, I believe every single player who has an expiring contract should be allowed to leave, with Pogba, Lingard, Cavani, Mata, and Lee Grant all leaving. So now if we look at possible departures, United should probably try to keep as many people as possible due to them losing 5 players for free. So the players that should be sold are Phil Jones, who should be sold for free just to get out of his contract, Harry Maguire for £30 million, Aaron Wan-Bissaka for £25 million, Dean Henderson for £15 million, Anthony Martial for £30 million, and Marcus Rashford for £40 million, leaving United with a total player sales revenue this summer of £140 million. For signings, I think they need to bring in around 6 players. They need a right back, a center back to pair with Varane, a defensive midfielder, an attacking midfielder, a right winger, and a striker. The first signing they should make is Ruben Neves, the 25-year-old defensive midfielder playing for Wolves, and should cost around £40 million. Neves is exactly the defensive midfielder United need, as they need someone with the ability to protect the back line, but also have great passing and carrying ability, which he has. The second signing they should make is Lisandro Martinez, the 24-year-old center back playing for Ajax, and should also cost around £40 million. He is a perfect fit for United's left-sided center back position under Ten Hag, as he is quick, great in possession, and an overall solid defender that would really complement Varane in the back line. The third signing would be Domenico Berardi, the 27-year-old right winger playing for Sassuolo, who should cost around £25 million. Berardi is a player that has dominated the Serie A for the past 3 seasons on that right wing, and would probably leave his only club he has ever played for if a big club went for him. And I think United could really use his goal-scoring threat on that right wing. The fourth signing would be Dominic Calvert-Lewin, the 25-year-old striker playing for Everton, who should cost around £40 million if they stay in the Premier League. He is a solid finisher and someone willing to work hard for the team, which Ten Hag would want. With Ronaldo still under contract, United will be able to ease Calvert-Lewin into the starting 11 as he has past issues with injury, and will allow him to continue his development. The fifth signing would be Youcef Atal, the 25-year-old right back playing for Nice, who should cost around £15 million. He is a great attacking right back that is pretty solid on the defensive side of the game, and that could be utilized in the Ten Hag system, and he could be great in this system. The sixth and final signing would be Isco, the 29-year-old attacking midfielder playing for Real Madrid for free, as his contract expires this summer. He is at the point of his Madrid career where he is barely utilized, and I think he should leave the club. However, he is still definitely a talented player, and he could be utilized as a backup to Bruno Fernandes, and also a player in the double pivot if needed as well. Would be an overall solid signing, however it might come with some big wages. These 6 signings would cost a total of £160 million, giving United a net spend of negative £20 million this summer. Therefore, the final ideal first-team squad for United next season would go as follows. De Gea and Heaton as keepers, Atal and Dalot as right-backs, Shaw and Telles as left-backs, Varane, Martinez, Bailey and Lindelof as centre-backs, Neves, Matic and McTominay as defensive midfielders, Fred and Van de Beek as central midfielders, Fernandes and Isco as attacking midfielders, Sancho and Alenga as left wingers, Berardi as the right winger, and Ronaldo and DCL as the strikers. I believe this would be a massive improvement on their current situation. Tottenham is also going into a crucial summer, as this will be their first summer with Antonio Conte. They will have to satisfy what he wants to bring in, and this will be crucial to keeping him around and pushing for some silverware. I think the main focus for them is to keep Harry Kane and build a team around them that will easily battle for top 4. If we look at his expired contract, they have nothing important, other than the fact that Galini's loan will be done, so Spurs will need to find a backup keeper. If you look at potential sales, I believe Spurs have a few players they should move on from, who are Davinson Sanchez for £25 million, Ben Davies for £15 million, Matt Doherty for £10 million, Harry Winks for £15 million, and Steve Bergwijn for £15 million. This would mean Spurs would have a total player sales revenue of £65 million. For signings, I think Spurs need to bring in a defensive midfielder, 2 center backs, a right wing back, a backup keeper, and a forward with lots of versatility. These 6 players will help Spurs bring in players that would satisfy Conte and help him potentially bring a trophy to Tottenham. The first signing would be Marcelo Brozovic, the 29-year-old defensive midfielder playing for Inter Milan for free, as he is a perfect fit. Brozovic had his best season under Conte at Inter, and he could flourish under him, and could rotate with Højbjerg in that 6th position, as they would protect the back 5 and make line-breaking passes to help start counterattacks. The second signing would be Bremer, the 25-year-old center-back playing for Torino, for a sum of £30 million. He is having a breakout campaign in the Serie A, as he is turning into one of the best defenders in all of Europe. He would be a perfect fit for Conte to be in the middle of the back 3, as he would be the defensive rock that the whole team fits around. The third signing would be Mohammed Sallsu, the 22-year-old center-back playing for Southampton, for a total sum of £30 million. He is another center-back having his breakout season at Southampton, and he is shown to be at his best on the left side of a back 3. There he is able to stay wide, play line-breaking passes, and help by being an amazing defensive presence. He would be an unreal signing for that left-sided center-back position. The fourth signing would be Jeremle Frimpong, the 21-year-old right-back playing for Bayer Leverkusen, for a total sum of £20 million. He is currently injured, but he should be back for next season, where he and Conte's system would be able to majorly influence the attack for Spurs. He is an incredible presence who works hard, runs up and down the wing, being solid defensively and having great attacking production. He would be very solid under Conte. The fifth signing would be Marcus Thuram, the 24-year-old forward playing for Mönchengladbach, for a total sum of £25 million. He would be an incredible forward for Spurs, as he can play all across the front line, giving this side lots of versatility, and at his best, he has been a top forward in the Bundesliga. Conte would love to have his pace, versatility, and dynamism. The sixth signing would be Karl Darlow, the 31-year-old keeper playing for Newcastle, for a total sum of £2 million. He will be brought in strictly to be a backup keeper. These 6 signings for a total of £107 million would give Spurs a total net spend of negative £38 million. The final ideal first-team squad would go as follows. Lloris and Darlow as keepers, Romero, Bremer, Sallsu, Dyer, Tanganga, and Rodon as centre-backs, Royale and Frimpong as right wing-backs, Reguilon and Sessegnon as left wing-backs, Højbjerg, Brozovic, Skip, and Bentancur as midfielders, Son and Thuram as left wingers, Kane as the striker, and Mora and Kulusevski as right wingers. This would be a great lineup for Conte and could see them achieve some trophies next season.